there, welcome back to my channel. I hope that you are doing well, and I hope that you are having a peaceful Memorial Day weekend thus far. It is Memorial Day today as of the time of this upload, so I hope that your past weekend has been a good one, and just being able to take the opportunity and time to take focus and remembrance of those who have made the ultimate sacrifices for their continued protection of the world, that freedoms that we are able to have and hopefully will continue to have. So, well, we are now back at the horror show, where it all began, which is now meaning week 2 of Diddy's trial, right? So if you had saw, I did a part 1 through 4 for week 1. So if you haven't had an opportunity to take a look at those, if you have some time, go ahead and go back out there and take a look at some of those. That way you get some of the information as far as some of the testimony and things that were being said, if you hadn't had an opportunity to do that or not able to follow on an everyday basis. Now, as I shared back last week, that I was going to be doing this probably like at the end of the week type of deal. So I would have loved to have gotten this done before today on Monday, but because the court is not going to resume until Tuesday, tomorrow, I figured, I got one more day in. So we're going to go ahead and get into it, and we're going to talk about how week 2 started, right? So lots of testimony, lots of shocking information that's come through in testimony, maybe shocking more for some than others, but nevertheless, it was definitely a week full of a lot of testimony given, and of course, trigger warning to it all. And so in this part 1, week 2, we're going to be covering some of those witnesses, and as you can see here on the screen, we're going to be talking about Dawn. I actually think her last name is pronounced Richard. But it looks like Richard. But I think it is Dawn Richard. And then we also have Cassie's former friend, I believe her name is Kerry Morgan. And we also have an executive assistant that also testified. We also have I think a dancer named Punisher that also testified. So I don't believe we're going to be talking about that in this part, but more parts to come, right? So this has actually been broken down in 5 parts. I really wanted to get down to 4, but considering some of the testimony and stuff that has been out, I thought it would be probably better to spread it out just a little bit more. So I did do that, but I am going to be uploading all of them before, I want to say 9 p.m. Eastern. So that way you'll have an opportunity pretty much every 2 hours or so to see the next part, and if you haven't had opportunity to catch one, you'll be able to do that and then come back and see the next, so that way you're all caught up to what week 2 had to offer as far as the trial and all of the antics of the week. So we've got lots to cover in this video, so let's go ahead and just get right on into it. Sit back and relax, and definitely be letting me know your thoughts down respectfully in the comment section, because it's a lot going on. I definitely understand it's a lot going on. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this part 1. Now, this sharing is being brought to us by USA Today, and there might be some other areas that we'll be covering as well, as far as where we'll get some of the information from. So, as usual, I'll let you know. All right, so let's get on into the first stop. We are going to be talking about basically a Diddy trial recap. We had Kerry Morgan, Cassie's former friend, and a few others in this part, and that's who we're going to start with. Now, apparently in this particular sharing, it's going to be going into details about the fact that she, I guess, witnessed her being hit with a hanger, and that would be Cassie. So let's go ahead and get into that. All right, so this page or the sharing starts in reflection of the news from Sean Diddy Combs' trial that was starting on Monday, May 19th, was starting the new week. And so for the latest updates for the trial, of course, you can always go through US Today and get the live coverage for Tuesday, May 20th, and continue on, because they do, some of these areas do give live coverage as well if you're not able to catch a YouTuber that might be out there, getting some information for you. Of course, the story does contain graphic descriptions that some readers may find disturbing. I know I do. So I say trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning. All right, let's get into it. Multiple witnesses in Sean Diddy Combs' sweeping federal crimes trial testified on years of alleged physical and sexual and emotional abusing. Of course, I'm going to be changing some words and such just to keep it YouTube friendly, as prosecutors tried to build their case against the embattled hip-hop mogul. Now, Dawn Richard, a former member of Combs' platinum-selling girl group Danity Kane, told the court on May 19th that she saw Combs beat his ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura Fine in 2009 in a Los Angeles home, grabbing her hair and dragging her up a flight of stairs. Now, Dawn, who filed a civil lawsuit against the rapper last year alleging physical and sexual abuse, told the court she wasn't looking for compensation or other perks for her testimony in his criminal trial. She says, "I'm expecting justice." Now, Kerry Morgan, a model and former friend of Ventura Fine, testified that Combs once attacked her in Cassie's California home, choking her and hitting her in the head with a wooden hanger. So not Cassie, but her. She also told the court she saw Combs assault of Ventura Fine several times, and she pleaded with her friend to leave the rapper. Now, Combs, 55, was arrested, as we all know, in September of 2024 on charges of trafficking, racketeering, and transportation to engage in we'll say activities usually that are unclothed, maybe could be clothes that you get paid for. That is against the law, sometimes done at night, maybe not. He has pleaded, of course, not guilty to all charges. Let's keep going. Another area covered is his former personal assistant says he was hired to serve Mr. Combs' kingdom. And I think this is where we're going to start looking at, the conversation of Rico running into I guess just being shared in the most place, because anything run as a kingdom, well, that kind of starts to see how that piece may fit, but we'll see. He says to close out the day, Combs' former personal assistant David James began his testimony of the events he witnessed from 2007 to 2009. James had told the court one comment stood out in his mind when he thought back on the initial job interview process. A female staff member at the time told him, "This is Mr. Combs' kingdom, and we're all here to serve it." That's interesting talk for an interview, isn't it? James is expecting to continue testifying on May 20th, and I'm sure we'll be covering some of that within these parts as well. Now, Kerry Morgan had testified on Diddy about Cassie's alleged jealousy. Interesting. So during cross-examination, Morgan was asked by defense attorney Mark Agnifilio whether Combs was jealous of Michael B. Jordan, the Emmy-nominated actor whom the rapper allegedly suspected was dating Ventura Fine around 2015. And I know Michael B. Jordan's probably like, I don't need none of this nonsense right now. I mean, he's got sinners. He's doing all kinds of things right now. He wants to stay far away from this, I'm sure. Now, Morgan said Ventura Fine began talking to Jordan shortly before a 2-month trip to South Africa. Cassie starred in the musical drama Honey 3, Dare to Dance, which was set in South Africa and reportedly concluded filming in December of 2015. They were not together, and Combs was jealous, Morgan explained. She was trying to leave him. Morgan, who reportedly hasn't spoken to Ventura Fine in 7 years, said her former friend in turn was jealous of Combs' other romantic partners, including women named Gina Hunn and a model actress, Kim Porter, the latter of whom Combs shared 4 children with. And she was jealous because she could never go to the New Year's Eve party, she said, of Cassie's feelings on Porter. Now, during her May 15 testimony, Ventura Fine said she had some jealousy toward Porter, and jurors saw a series of text messages from 2013 in which she was upset at seeing Porter and Combs with their children and not being invited to family vacations and get-togethers. Now, Kerry Morgan says she told Cassie to leave Diddy. Asked why she didn't call the police after allegedly seeing Combs attack Ventura Fine multiple times, Morgan said her former friend didn't want her to. However, the model said she tried to pressure Ventura Fine to leave Combs with a former friend who would speak about Diddy and Cassie's relationship. When prosecutors asked how Ventura Fine would respond, Morgan said that she said she couldn't. The reasons she would give were her job, her car, her apartment. Combs controlled everything, Morgan claimed. Now, Kerry Morgan alleges Combs assaulted her with a wooden hanger. Now, Morgan testified that her friendship with Ventura Fine ended after Combs assaulted her in April of 2018. Cassie's former friend said she was listening to the singer's music at Ventura Fine's Hollywood Hills house before Combs came in and allegedly choked Morgan. She added that he boomeranged a wooden hanger at her head that hit her behind the ear. "I got my stuff and left the house," said Morgan, who recalled Combs yelling and accusing Ventura Fine of cheating on him. "The reason I stopped speaking to her was because she was not supportive after the incident," Morgan said of Ventura Fine. "I draw my line at physical abuse." It's unfortunate that so many others don't. Now, Kerry Morgan details splinter with Cassie in regards because of Diddy. Now, on the stand, Morgan said she and Ventura Fine were friends for over a decade, but the relationship severed after Combs had assaulted her. Before Ventura Fine dated Combs, Morgan told the court she didn't drink much alcohol or use any drugs on the illegal side of those. She says when her friend first started seeing the rapper, Morgan said she saw Combs assault Ventura Fine several times, once dragging her by the hair during a trip to Jamaica. Now, Morgan was at Ventura Fine's apartment the night of the 2016 hotel assault caught on surveillance video. Instead, she returned with a black eye. 30 minutes later, Combs was pounding on the apartment door with a hammer, Morgan said. I was terrified, she told the court, describing Ventura Fine as numb and as if she wouldn't care if Combs had unalived her. Now, Dawn defends her career in cross-examination. So now we're going to switch back over to Dawn's Monday, believe it was, for cross-examination, because she had the Friday prior started her testimony. So now Nicole Westmoreland, one of Combs' lawyers, pressed the former Danny Kane member on why she reached out to him following an allegedly violent 2009 incident if she thought he was dangerous. The attorney referred to Dawn's previous testimony when she said he saw Combs assault Ventura Fine and the rapper threatened her afterward. You perceived the threats as death threats, fear for your life, but then you reached out to work with him again, Westmoreland said, to which Dawn replied, yes. Arguing that in more recent years, her songs haven't reached the level of Danny Kane's success, and Westmoreland added, I mean, no offense. She says, I have succeeded in it, her career. That's how Dawn had shot back. In the past, Westmoreland said, to which Dawn responded, now. So we got a little bit of tit for tat playing with, her thoughts and I guess lame attempts of trying to insult her and what she was able to establish. Yeah, I guess that's what they do, right? All right. So now Dawn is questioned on lapses in her testimony. Now I've heard some conversation about that out and about town, if you will. Some individuals who felt that there might have been some taking down of Dawn's testimony from that prior. So let's see if we get some of that detail here in this write-up. Now it says during a pointed cross-examination, Dawn admitted to giving different versions of events to officials and not mentioning certain details during interviews with prosecutors. For example, she said in court she saw Combs use illegal DURGSs, starting with the C and ending with the E. Well, that could be anything, couldn't it? Well, it starts with a C and ends with a cane. And witnesses alleged DRUG dealer identified as One Stop Sell DRUGSs, but previously gave different answers to prosecutors. Your testimony has changed a number of times. You would agree that as time progresses, your story changes, Nicole Westmoreland, a lawyer for Combs, asked. Dawn agreed there were lapses, but she explained, I have to go back to memory that I didn't want to come back to. The environment was volatile and it was very hard to work in, she said, of interacting with Combs. Continue on with Dawn's cross-examination, where Dawn recalls celebrity-packed dinner where Diddy had touched Cassie. Now, under a cross-examination, Dawn told the court about a dinner around 2009 where she allegedly saw Combs punch Cassie. She told the court music stars Usher, Jimmy Iovine, and Neo were in attendance. The comments added a growing web from the trial that has ensnared several big names in the music industry and Hollywood, including Michael B. Jordan and Kid Cudi. Now, Dawn says Combs threatened her by saying we could go missing. Dawn said she frequently saw Combs physically abuse Ventura Fine between 2009 and 2011, recalling injuries on her face, arms, and knees. I saw him punch her, choke her, drag her, and kick her, she testified, adding that if Ventura Fine had an option or spoke up for herself, he would hurt her for it. In one incident, Dawn said she witnessed Combs punch Ventura Fine in the face, and another, Combs allegedly punched Ventura Fine in the stomach during a dinner. Now, Dawn testified that when Ventura Fine confronted Combs, he grabbed Cassie's neck and hit her in the mouth. Lord have mercy. Now, Dawn also said she was shocked and scared after Combs threatened her, warning that if we said anything, we could go missing and we would be unalive. He would tell people in his circle to stay out of my relationship or else we would pay for it, or else something bad would happen to you, she said. Now, Dawn alleges Diddy, DRUG use, says she expects justice. Now, detailing Combs' alleged DRUG use, Dawn said she often observed the music mogul using, illegal substances, And it was quite a few of them. So one that would be Mary Jane, another one would be the ketamine, another one would be the code that had the cane attached to it, and one with a girl named Molly. Whew, yeah. His DRUG dealer, known as One Stop, would come to the studio, she said, providing, well, those illegal DRUGSs, such as the ones that I've shared, the code with the cane, and one that made you feel like you were maybe in some type of form of ecstasy. But she said the man also provided pharmaceuticals such as birth control and emergency contraceptives. Now, Dawn also testified to seeing a Louis Vuitton toiletry bag where Combs kept his DRUGSs, and that she saw him with a pow pow a few times. Now, when questioned about her pending civil lawsuit against Combs, Dawn said she was not expecting compensation for her testimony. I'm just expecting justice, she said. Now, Dawn described violent assault on Cassie. Now, Danity Kane alum and Combs' former Diddy Dirty Money collaborator, Dawn, described witnessing Combs attack Ventura Fine as she was making eggs in kitchen Combs in Los Angeles home of Combs. Now, Combs grabbed the skillet Ventura Fine was cooking in and tried to hit her with it. Richard said the skillet didn't seem to hit Ventura Fine fully because she went into the fetal position, according to Dawn. Ventura Fine was literally trying to hide her face and her head. Now, Dawn testified that the rapper then grabbed Ventura Fine's hair and dragged her upstairs. She said she subsequently heard glass breaking and yelling. Now we're going to move on from Dawn to apparently what was discovered during Diddy's arrest by the federal agent. So it appears that federal agent discovered bottles of baby oil lubricant after Diddy's arrest. The prosecution also brought Homeland Security Investigation Special Agent Yasin Binda to the stand. And Binda, who specializes in human trafficking cases, was on the scene for Combs' September 16, 2024 arrest at the Park Hyatt, New York, where she photographed evidence in his room. Among the items discovered were a plastic bag filled with Johnson & Johnson baby oil, 5 bottles of baby oil and lubricant standing together on the floor of the bathtub. That was not all of the baby oil and lubricant they'd found, Binda confirmed. A Louis Vuitton bag with a bottle of clozapam, a benzo, we'll say that is used for anxiety and seizures, which was prescribed to Combs' alias Frank Black. Now, 2 bottles of lubricant in the right nightstand drawer, a bottle of medication in the left nightstand with 2 clear plastic bags filled with a pink substance, and one of the bags tested positive for ketamine, and the other had a mixture of MDMA and ketamine. A fanny pack hanging off the bed with $9,000 in cash, and cell phones belonging to Combs and Christina K.K. Coram, who has been described as Combs' right hand. And his name has been popped up quite a bit throughout this whole situation. Now, what is Diddy charged with? Is if we need a reminder. And why is he on trial? Well, let's go through those again for those who might need that reminder. Combs is facing federal S crimes and trafficking charges in a sprawling lawsuit that has eroded his status as a power player and kingmaker in the entertainment industry. He was arrested September 2024 and has been charged with racketeering, S trafficking, and transportation to engage in events of the night. He was pleaded not guilty to all 5 counts. And by the way, when I say that, it starts with a P, so you know what that is. Now, of course, say, where can you watch the Diddy trial? Well, as we know, it's not being televised, but people are being able to, go in, maybe see some bits and then come out and share them with others. Obviously, things are being written up in some of these sharings that we're providing as well to kind of give you an idea. I would imagine that if this was something televised, it would just make it more of a circus than it may already be. But it does say that as cameras are typically not allowed in federal criminal trial proceedings, that's also part of the reason for why that's not happening here. It says USA Today will continue to be reporting live from the courtroom, which they were. And it says if you are a survivor of SA, RAINN offers support through the National SA Hotline at 800-656-HOPE, and that's 4673-4HOPE, and hotline.rainn.org, and in Espanol, rainn.org/es. Yes. And I will have that information down in the comments section, or, well, yeah, it could be in the comment section, but definitely in the description area of this video as well. So there we have it. That is how we were starting to kick off the second week of the trial, where it had Dawn coming back and she was doing her uh, I don't say rebuttal, but more or less cross-examination. And then, of course, we got some more information in regards to his executive assistant, which was David James. And so I'm going to have some more information about David James, some more things that he reported on as well. And we also probably going to talk about Dawn a little bit. And we're going to also talk about Kerry Morgan here. We're probably going to talk about her again in one of the future parts of week 2. So definitely you want to stay tuned so that way you will get those information as well. Now, for the most part, in some of these parts, you might see some obviously information that carries on maybe into another part, but you'll see it from another perspective or more additional details added to it. So a lot of cut down has had to take place, obviously, so we're not continually repeating full elements, but there has been so much, as you can imagine, that has happened and occurred with the testimony. And of course, we want to cover as much of that as we can so we can all be abreast of what's going on as we go into week 3 starting tomorrow, for the most part anyways. So with that, I'm going to bid you adieu for this update, or this part actually of the update for week 2, Diddy's trial. I will be popping up part 2 within probably the next couple of hours, so that way it gives you opportunity to take a look-see at this video. Definitely share your thoughts, what you think about what was covered for this portion of the trial, and just how do you think or feel things are heading. Definitely leave us respectfully down below. And make sure you have your all notification bells on so that way you don't miss those uploads. And of course, if you are new here, hey, welcome to my channel. Of course, I'm April, and I'm so glad to have you here. And I thank you all for your continued viewing and listening support. And of course, if you are new here and you haven't had an opportunity to subscribe, I hope that you will and become part of the family. I would so love to have you. So with that, I'm going to bid you adieu. You take care, be blessed, and I will see you here in a little bit for part 2. Bye.